Probably wouldn't hurt. I mean, yeah, probably wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, we just pull that.
Or do you want to curve it?
Well, I just take a couple of these two panels out and then
yeah, just bring her around. Or
take the one out.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, let's wait. He's ever rode a hog before. It's fun. It's fun. We'll take that table up, just levitate it, and go right on out the door.
I should have asked to be farther back.
What about your?
They're gonna run the line.
What about your camera? How far out will it be out?
Well, if I was 4 feet back, I could actually see them run the fence line. Because they'll run the fence line, they'll go more than...
Sometimes, they're not supposed to, but they do.
They're not supposed to, okay. I'll take what I can get.
What do you think?
One more out.
One more out, it'd be angled here, wouldn't it? Okay. Let me open that up and let me bulldoze the chips up. Yes, Kelly. Yes, Kelly. Well, here.
Oh, you are wonderful.
Better?
Oh, that's incredible.
Hard to move all of these biters.
I think that'll get it, boy.
I should have moved myself. We could have dragged this back, maybe.
Oh, it's okay. You're good there?
I'm fantastic.
Here, we'll pull this back into the hair right here to get you. How's that? Close.
Get it.
Is that good with the cameraman?
And you're coming in an hour earlier tomorrow.
does.
Because the llama show starts at 8.
At 8.
And actually, we're going to try and start it at 7:50.
Oh, are you trying to beat the heat?
Well, no, we want to make sure that we're absolutely done before the sheep starts at 9. Because it goes in 8.
So, yeah, it's Thursday, I have lamb show at 8, and I'm going to change it to
7:50.
7:50.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
And that's one I've gotten lots of emails and SMSs about that one. Because it's become a very popular show and people want to see it. And it's really a fun show. If you haven't ever seen one, I'm one of the superintendents. That llamas are really, really intelligent animals. And you show them like a new dog. You run them through obstacles.
Oh, yeah.
And then we're not having the funnest by the same time. We usually end with a costume class where you dress up the llama and the exhibitor.
Oh, yeah.
And like there's one year, my oldest son, it took 3 months to get the llama used to it.
Oh,
But they came in as Jake and Elwood Blues. He actually had a suit coat on the llama, and we were playing Peter Gunn over the speakers when he came in. That was pretty cool. And then another year, my other son,
Get a relationship like that.
yes,
with
with the animal.
That's just
And another year, my youngest son came in a suit, and the llama was in a flowing white dress, and we had played Marilyn Monroe's Happy Birthday, Mr. President, so they were JFK and Marilyn. And we had a fan blowing behind the llama, so the dress poofed up.
That's good.
So some of the kids, they have really, really good ideas about that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Level 4 showmanship exhibitors will be beginning here in about 10 minutes. So if you are in split 1 of our level 4 showmanship, we'll start here in about 10 minutes. Test, test. And just another reminder, we are starting with showmanship, then it will be breeding, market classes will be last. Okay, level 4, showmanship, split 1. I'm looking for Britton Coates, Tate Anderson, Colby Lawhorn, Cody Loganbill, and Emma Brown. If I can get those exhibitors to start heading towards the holding area. Again, split 1 of level 4 showmanship. Please start making your way to the holding area. Okay, we would like to go ahead and welcome everyone to the 2020 Douglas County Fair Swine Show. We do need to start with just a few safety reminders. Please do not gather around the edges of the show ring. We need to be mindful of our social distancing. Please don't shake the judge's hand. Try to remember not to touch your face. We know it's hot, we know you're sweaty, but we just want to try to keep everyone as safe as possible. We will be keeping class sizes pretty small, so we'll try to keep everyone in the loop, and we'll just try to have a great show and everyone have a great time. We would like to go ahead and welcome our judge for today. Our judge is Jet Eater. He is a veterinarian at Atchison Animal Clinic in Atchison, Kansas, and a vet school grad from Kansas State University. He has an animal science degree from Oklahoma State and was a 2010 member of the national champion livestock judging team, as well as an All-American team member. As well, he was a 2011 member of the national champion meat animal evaluation team. His family raises show pigs in Sharon Springs, Kansas. Okay, we will begin with our split 1 of level 2 showmanship. Again, we're looking for Britton Coates, Tate Anderson, Colby Lawhorn, Cody Loganbill, and Emma Brown. Split 2 of level 4 showmanship. This is your first call.
Well, it's a pleasure for me to be here in Douglas County today. Like I say, it's an unprecedented year for a lot of different reasons, but I'm really happy and excited to be here evaluating your livestock, and that the fact that we even get to have these events for these kids to showcase the hard work that they've been doing with their projects. Out here in senior showmanship, I'll just kind of start off, like I say, kind of saying what I'm looking for in showmanship. And like I say, also identify a couple of the young people out here that are doing that really well, and we'll bring them back for the overall selection of our senior showmen. In showmanship, like I say, to me the most important thing is allowing me to present your animal to the best of your ability, as well as to allow an honest evaluation of it, which involves driving that pig at me, coming at me, leaving it, taking it away, driving a profile. Those three views, I want to be seeing those three views, and the showmen that are doing a really, really good job are going to be hitting those corners. I mean, obviously, you're kind of doing a dance with your partner. The better your partner can be at staying calm, staying collected, keeping its head up, that kind of thing. That's certainly going to help you out as well. But again, like I say, I don't like to spend all day driving hogs. I like to get them in, get them out, and like I say, the fastest way for me to make my decisions is being able to see all three views and roll from there. And there's a couple of young men out here that have been doing a really good job. They hit me really hard there initially. Everyone is doing a great job. But in particular, the young man driving this red barrow and the young man driving this blue butt hog right here, they're going to be the ones that we're going to bring back for the next overall round. Everyone else in the ring, like I say, just some things to work on. The young man driving a spot barrow or a spot gilt does a really nice job. Maybe hog just didn't quite work with him right off the bat. Is maybe not quite as smooth and collected as the two hogs that are being driven by the other two young men that will be coming back, but does a really nice job. Kids on the far side of the ring, like I say, just keeping that hog moving at that gentle, easy pace, keeping that 10 to 15 foot radius away from me while we're hitting those corners is what I like to see. And so, like I say, let's give these exhibitors a round of applause on a really nice class of senior showmen to evaluate. And like I say, the young man driving the blue barrow and the young man driving the Duroc will come back for our overall selection.
Returning from split 1 will be Britton Coates and Cody Loganbill. Receiving blues from split 1 were Tate Anderson, Colby Lawhorn, and Emma Brown. We're now ready for split 2 of our level 4 showmanship. We're looking for Riley Coates, Lane Anderson, Gareth Moore, and Kaylee Griffith. This is the first call for level 3 showmanship. First call.
Again, another extremely high quality set of senior showmanship to evaluate, and I hope that the young people that are going to be coming in here later in the morning here are paying attention and are watching these showmen do what they're doing, because they're doing a really good job. Like I say, when you sign up to judge a county fair, you don't always know what you're going to get yourself into. But I think that this county should be very proud of the showmen that they're sending out into the ring for a judge to evaluate, because they really do an extremely nice job. The two showmen that I'm going to select to come back for our overall young man driving the narrow belted barrow, and then the young lady with the spot back gilt are going to be coming back. To take nothing away from the two remaining exhibitors in the ring, young man with the belted barrel just kind of brought him a little bit too close to me too many times. Young lady with the blue barrow sometimes a little bit too far back, but you know, hitting those corners, being in that field of vision, being where you need to be. Like I say, that's really important, and we'll go ahead and evaluate your top four and pick your grand and reserve. But again, a real pleasure, and like I say, you guys should be extremely proud of the young people that you have out here in the ring. They do a phenomenal job working these hogs, and they're really well presented. So let's give these exhibitors a round of applause, and we'll move on to our overall senior showman. Okay. So yeah, the 184 and 290.
184 and 290. Got it. Got it. You might, with your mask on, you might have to hold it pretty close, just so you know. I know it's not something we're all used to. Returning from split 2 of our level 4 showmanship, we have Riley Coates and Garrison Moore. Receiving blues from split 2 were Lane Anderson and Kaylee Griffith. We will now hold our selection of our champion and reserve champion level 4 showmen. We're looking for Britton Coates, Cody Loganbill, Riley Coates, and Garrison Moore. Split 1 of level 3 showmanship. This is your second call.
Let's give these senior showmen a round of applause. They're doing a whale of a job out here. They're doing really, really good. And I'm really happy with all 4 of them out here, to be completely honest with you. Any of them could drive a hog for me, and I would be more than happy. They're all champions in my book when they're doing it this good. But that's not what we're doing today. We'll pick a winner. And so, like I say, there's a showman out here that is really, I feel like, just does an extremely good job of just being there. And when he's not there, he's just about to be there and get right back in the thing. For me, maybe he overuses his stick just a little bit much, and that can be just a little bit distracting. But in terms of having a hog that can get where he needs to be, and he's always there, and he's just driving the wheels off of his gilt, young man here with the narrow belted gilt is going to go ahead and be your champion showman here today. I won't shake your hand, buddy, but great job. From there, it gets really, really close. For me, I'm going to go ahead and elect to use the young man driving the blue barrow out here to be your reserve showman, another showman that does an extremely good job. Our remaining 2 showmen out here, probably third out would be the young man driving the Duroc, and I honestly thought that he could have won this drive when we first came into the ring. Like I say, it's just a tough call today, but you do an extremely good job. Young lady driving her spot-backed gilt also does an extremely nice job. Hog maybe just not quite as remote control as the rest of them. But like I say, 4 extremely good showmen who know what they're doing, and I really appreciate them and their talks with me as well. But again, an extremely good set of senior showmen. Let's give those exhibitors a round of applause.
Champion level 4 showman went to Garrison Moore. Reserve champion level 4 showman went to Cody Loganbill. We would like to thank our sponsors of our showmanship today. Winners of our showmanship class will receive a cash award sponsored by Douglas County Farm Bureau, as well as a cash award sponsored by Moore Land and Livestock, LLC. Entering the ring now, we have split 1 of our level 3 showmanship. We're looking for Tristan Capel, Cole Flory, Olivia Lawhorn, Addison Welch, and Ethan Smozzle. This is a first call for split 2 of level 3 showmanship to the holding area. We do have copies of our book at the north end on the table. If you're looking for a program, they are on the table at the north end of the barn.
Let's go ahead and give this class of intermediate showmen a round of applause on a really nice group from top to bottom out here. Again, like I say, the things that I'm wanting to see in showmanship is hogs that are getting in the right place. I want to see the front side of the hog. I want to see the rear view of the hog. I want to see the side view of the animal. And like I say, doing that in a smooth, collected manner. You're not overdriving the hog, but you're making sure that you're getting those views in and getting that hog where it needs to be for me to see it easily. There's 2 young men out here that do a really good job with that. Young man driving this belted barrow is going to come back for your overall selection. Young man driving the mostly blue barrow is going to be back as well. Like I say, sometimes you get a hog a little bit too close here, sometimes a little bit too far away. But like I say, keeping that sweet spot about that 10, 15 feet, changing up those views, getting that hog stuck. That's what I'm liking to see, and these 2 young men doing a really good job of that. Let's go ahead and give all of these exhibitors a round of applause on a really nice set, and we'll continue with the next part of our show.
Returning from split 1 of level 3 showmanship will be Tristan Capel and Cole Flory. Receiving blues from split 1 were Olivia Lawhorn, Addison Welch, and Ethan Smozzle. We're now ready for split 2 of level 3 showmanship to enter the ring. We're looking for Elena Moore, Jace Hout, Seth Smozzle, and Jarrett Phillips. This is the first call for split 1 of level 2 showmanship.
Let's give our second flight of level 3 showman another round of applause as doing a really nice job out here. The young lady, she's going to be the one we bring back from this particular heat, but everybody's doing a nice job. Again, keeping that 10 to 15 foot radius, working the different angles of those pigs. Like I say, she's an example of one who's really getting the job done out here. And like I say, just sometimes hogs just want to will get a little overworked. Sometimes it's just a matter of, like I say, a little bit more work at home as far as getting those hogs right where they need to be and maybe getting them into a ring before a time or two. It's been a tough year for that kind of thing. But like I say, we've got some showmen in here that's really been doing it really well. And like I say, I'm excited to go ahead and evaluate the overall level 3. But let's give them one more round of applause as we send them out the ring for all of their hard work and endeavors this year.
Returning from split 2 of level 3 showmanship is Elena Moore. Receiving blues were Jace Hout, Seth Smozzle, and Jarrett Phillips. We'll now have the selection of our champion and reserve champion level 3 showmen. Coming back is Tristan Capel, Cole Flory, and Elena Moore. Split 1 of level 2 showmanship. This is your second call to the holding area.
Let's give these 3 level 3 showmen a round of applause. They're doing an outstanding job out here. All 3 of them are. Like I say, you know, there's only so many things you can do to show a pig and show a pig extremely well. And I think all 3 of them are doing that to really well. And everyone who, like I say, I was with COVID precautions. I'm not really talking to, not being as interactive in showmanship as I like to be with everybody who's come through the ring today. So I hope that everyone who didn't get talked to today have been paying attention and wants to learn and to be more like these 3 showmen out here in the ring. You know, y'all be nice, y'all talk to each other, y'all teach each other how to be excellent showmen because, like I say, you guys know what you're doing, and like I say, everyone should be looking up to them as some really great examples of the hard work that it takes to make a pig do this kind of stuff, and they do it really well. And like I say, I'm very proud, and you all should be very proud of these showmen. From there, like I say, we are going to pick a winner. The young lady is going to be our champion today. She just does an extremely nice job. For me, probably the things that set her apart is this barrow that she drives he's just the same speed. She's just really smooth. He's not overworked. He doesn't fight her. He just kind of does what he needs to do and looks good while he's doing it. She's really calm. She's really smooth. Like I say, just kind of sets the standard in that regard. From there, things get really close between the 2 young men out here. I'm going to elect to go ahead and use the young man driving the blue to be reserve. Young man driving the belted will be third. But again, we're just splitting hairs on some really slight differences. Hogs that want to work, hogs that sometimes throw a little bit more of a fit. But like I say, we won't overwork these guys any more than we already have. We'll move them on out and move on with the next part of our show. But again, an extremely high quality set of showmen. Y'all should be very proud.
Champion level 3 showman went to Elena Moore. Reserve champion level 3 showman went to Tristan Capel. Again, we would like to thank the sponsors of our showmanship today. Winners will receive a cash award sponsored by Douglas County Farm Bureau, as well as a cash award sponsored by More Land and Livestock, LLC. We are now ready for split 1 of level 2 showmanship. We're looking for Tough Neitzel, Carter Watson, Shay Griffith, and Paige Fishburne. This is the first call for split 2 of level 2 showmanship.
Let's go ahead and give our next level of showmen a round of applause on a really nice job out here. They're doing a really good job. Again, like I say, not to belabor my points, but showmen that are hitting those views, they're getting those hogs, like I say, in about that 10-15 radius, bringing them in, not bringing them too close to me, letting me accurately evaluate and honestly evaluate their animal is what I'm liking to see. And so we have two young ladies that'll be coming back for the overall. The young lady that kind of had a wild entry but a brilliant recovery is going to be coming back, and then the young lady driving this narrow-belted barrow will be coming back as well. But they've done an extremely nice job. Two young men, like I say, certainly have a lot of quality with what you're doing. Just kind of like I say, sometimes we're getting too far away, sometimes we're getting too close. Just kind of keep hitting that sweet spot just a little bit more, maintain that eye contact. But a really nice set. We'll go ahead and sort on to the next our next class. But again, a really nice set of this level of showmanship.
Returning from split 1 of level 2 showmanship will be Shay Griffith and Paige Fishburne. Receiving blues were Tuff Neitzel and Carter Watson. We're now ready for split 2 of level 2 showmanship. We're looking for Cammie Moore, Piper Flory, Truth Pope, Jaden Lister, and Avery Griffith. This is the first call for split 1 of level 1 showmanship.
Let's go ahead and give these level 2 showmen a round of applause on a really nice job. I think that this is a deeper group of showmen in this. So we're going to bring 4 of these young people back to sort against our previous 2. A young lady driving this blue butt gilt will be coming back. Young man driving the solid black hog. Young lady driving the narrow belted gilt, and the young lady driving the blue backed gilt will all be coming back. Like I say, I think they're all doing an extremely nice job and warrant for the evaluation against their peers in the previous class. But like I say, hogs that are getting shown, getting stuck. The hair and presentation on them is really good. Keeping those heads up, working those different views. Like I say, they're doing a really nice job. And I'm excited to see all 6 of them out in the ring to pick our champion. But let's give them one more round of applause, and we'll sort on to our next group here.
Returning from split 2 of level 2 showmanship will be Cammie Moore, Piper Flory, Truth Pope, and Avery Griffith. Receiving a blue is Jaden Lister. We'll now have the selection of our champion and reserve champion level 2 showman. Returning back to the ring will be Shay Griffith, Paige Fishburne, Cammie Moore, Piper Flory, Truth Pope, and Avery Griffith. This is the second call for split 1 of level 1 showmanship to the holding area.
Walk down. Let me smell your breath.
let's give all of these exhibitors a round of applause for all of the people who came into this ring, and also, like I say, the pig that was getting a little hot that we went ahead and excused because we got a long show ahead of us. But they're all doing a really, really, really nice job out here. For me, there's a showman that, like I say, kind of stood out from the moment she came into the ring, and she continues to stand out. Young lady driving the Bluebuck Gilt's going to be your champion showman today. Let's go ahead and give her a round of applause on a job well done. The rest of the showmen, I think it gets a lot closer. And like I say, there's some things that different showmen do better than others. Sometimes we get them a little bit close. Sometimes the pigs are just a little bit slower. But the young man in our questions, he took the opportunity when I asked him what some things he learned with this project to really showcase some knowledge. And for that risk, he went ahead and told me about some parts that he'd been learning on his pig, and I think that was exceptional that we're learning and growing with this project, and he's going to be your reserve showman today. The rest of these young ladies out here are doing an exceptional job as well, and like I say, really enjoyed visiting with them today.
Champion Level 2 showman went to Cammie Moore. Reserve Champion Level 2 showman went to Truth Pope. Again, we would like to thank the sponsors of our showmanship today. Winners of each level will receive a cash award from Douglas County Farm Bureau, as well as a cash award sponsored by Moore Land and Livestock, LLC. We're now ready for split 1 of Level 1 showmanship. We're looking for Cooper Marsh, Dagan Willis, Evelyn Johnson, Reed Moore, and Austin Phillips. This is the first call for split 2 of Level 1 showmanship to the holding area.
Let's go ahead and give our first heat of Level 1 showman a round of applause on a really nice job. I really appreciate these kids getting these hogs out here and working with them, and they, like I say, have a lot more time to grow and evaluate and hone these skills. But we have a couple young men out here kind of came out looking like winners, trying to find somewhere to win. And the young man here at the Berkshire Barrow and the young man driving the blue belted gilt is going to come back as in our next round as being, like I say, 2 real stiff competitors. The rest of the showmen out here, like I say, just need to work on getting that hog out there in the center of our ring. And you're in some pretty tough competition, I will say that. But let's go ahead and give all these exhibitors a round of applause on a really, really nice set of Level 1 showmen.
Returning from split 1 of Level 1 showmanship will be Cooper Marsh and Reed Moore. Receiving blues were Dagan Willis, Evelyn Johnson, and Austin Phillips. We're now ready for split 2 of our Level 1 showmanship. We're looking for Robert Johnson, Paige Smazel, Harrison Hefner, Harper Smart, and Brantley Fishburne.
Let's give these junior showmen another round of applause on or like I say, working on these with these hogs on kind of a warmer, muggy morning, and like I say, the hogs aren't as easy to get along with sometimes. We're going to go ahead and bring back the young man driving the big Yorkshire barrow right there along the fence. He does a really nice job when he first came into the ring. Kind of a little bit lost in the crowd right now, but like I say, is working that eye contact, the different views of his animal, and like I say, really appreciate that. Young people that are going to be excused from the ring, you're going to already be receiving blue ribbons, and definitely pay attention as this next overall heat of showmanship goes. Like I say, there's going to be some really, really good showmen. There's been some really good showmen all day, and like I say, these are some people to look up to admire, and to try to emulate as we continue to grow in our project. So let's go ahead and give them one more round of applause, and we'll go over to our overall level 1.
Returning from split 2 of level 1 showmanship will be Harrison Hefner. Receiving blues were Robert Johnson, Paige Smazel, Harper Smart, and Brantley Fishburne. We will now have the selection of our champion and reserve champion level 1 showmen. Returning to the ring will be Cooper Marsh, Reed Moore, and Harrison Hefner.
Let's give our level 1 showmen a round of applause. They're doing a whale of a job out here today. Like I say, I think all 3 of them do an exceptional job. Probably the young man driving the Berkshire and the young man driving the Blue Butt Gilt are probably just have a little bit more training with those hogs today. They're working with them a little bit better and are in contention. And I think that it it gets really, really close. For me, the young man driving Blueberry Blast is going to go ahead and be our champion junior showman today. He does an extremely, extremely nice job. He looks like a winner going somewhere to win, and he just hits those corners, and he's just, yeah, that one does a really good job. To take nothing away from the young man driving this Berkshire Hog, he's having a lot of fun out here. He's like I say, I enjoyed visiting with this young man, and like I say, he's having fun and he's doing extremely well. And to me, that's really, really important. And like I say, a young man driving that White Hog, like I say, just a little bit more time. You were lights out when you first came into the ring, but like I say, showmanship sometimes can grind on. And so we'll go ahead and give these exhibitors a round of applause on a really nice set of showmanship. We'll move on with the next part of our show.
Champion Level 1 Showman went to Reed Moore. Reserve Champion Level 1 Showman went to Cooper Marsh. We will now move into the breeding portion of our show today. We will begin with our Duroc Gilts. Class 1, we're looking for Kaylee Griffith, Cody Newell, and Britton Coates. We do have a change to our program for the market portion of our show. We will begin with the feeder class of pigs. In that first class of market feeder pigs will be Piper Flory, Addison Welch, Robert Johnson, Brantley Fishburne, and Evelyn Johnson. Again, that's for the market portion of our show. We just wanted to give you folks a heads up. If we could also please have Harrison Hefner, Paige Smozzle, Clayton Lang, and Ethan Smozzle report to the announcer's stand. Again, Harrison Hefner, Paige Smozzle, Clayton Lang, and Ethan Smozzle, please report to the announcer's stand.
Well, a very nice trio of Duroc breeding gilts to go ahead and evaluate. So I'm going to go ahead and lead off with the young man's open-chested, tall-fronted gilt here that he, like I say, does a really nice job of driving and motivating the ring with her. Probably for me, she's, like I say, it kind of sets the standard as being kind of the broodier one of the bunch. She's kind of sweeps the nice deep rib cage. When she drives at me, she's like I say, comes out really square and wide through her sternum and takes the ring with comfort and ease out of that front shoulder. I'll be the first to admit I'm not the biggest fan of her hind leg construction. Certainly want to level her up in her hip, give her more flexibility there in her hock. And the gilt in second has an advantage in terms of hind leg construction. I'll be the first to admit that. But for me, she just gets a little bit narrows up a bit more. She wants to get a notch more set forward, and the angle of her blade can't really get her head up and have that same degree of look and presentation of our gilt that wins the class. Young man's gilt that goes ahead and rounds out the class. Certainly a hog that has some muscularity and some width to her. I mean, like I say, she's probably is, if she's not the widest chested, she's definitely pushing our class class winner in that regard. But for me, I just like to change her off of both ends of her skeleton. She wants to get a bit more upright in her blade. She just gets a bit more uncoordinated in how she handles her hind too. But like again, a really nice trio of gilts to evaluate with some skeletal differences, some structural differences. Like I say, some things that we'd like to change about them, but again, sorting up the things that matter most to me. Like I say, let's give them a round of applause on a really nice trio of gilts to evaluate here today.
First, and our champion Duroc breeding gilt went to Britton Coates. Second, and reserve champion Duroc breeding gilt went to Kaylee Griffith. Receiving a blue was Cody Newell. Next in the ring, we'll have Dustin Phillips showing his Poland China gilt. This is the first call for spot gilts to the holding area.
What? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that. Okay, so that's not happening. We're good. Sorry. We're good. Good. The program, no. I think it just didn't get taken off on there. Okay, so we're ready for our spots.
Okay, we will not have a Poland China, so we are ready for our spot gilts. We're looking for Tate Anderson, Cody Loganbill, Paige Fishburne, and Cole Flory.
No, remember that was a scratch. We just didn't get it taken off. He's showing you in market, not reading.
Entering the ring now, we do have our spot breeding gilts. Yorkshire breeding gilts, please be headed to the holding area.
Another really nice class to go ahead and evaluate today. And for me, the young lady's predominantly white gilt goes ahead and starts off the drive. For me, she just kind of most nearly represents that brood gilt ideal that we're having. She sweeps a big, bold rib cage. She's really correct in her skeletal makeup in terms of how she handles both ends of her skeleton, especially on the side view. Maybe you want to square her up just a notch as she goes away from you, just to make her a notch more undeniable. But you want to talk about a pretty salty spot gilt. I think that she is one of those. To take nothing away from kind of a powerhouse gilt that stands here in second as one of the pounds lighter gilts, extremely open-chested, big top, big hip, has the right kind of rib. For me, I just like to maybe alter the way she's constructed and sets down on her hind two. Just wants to reach up underneath herself. Doesn't seem quite as coordinated and smooth as how she motivates the surface. But again, an extremely, extremely nice gilt to be standing second. From there, the young man's spotted gilt that's further away from me. Again, I love the rib and body that this gilt has. Like I say, she's a bigger outline kind of a gilt. But for me, like I say, just gets a bit more uncoordinated off of those hind two. Wants to get a bit straighter there in her hock, kind of hits the ground a little bit harder. Lacks kind of some look as we get through the front part of her skeleton. A young man's gilt that rounds out the class. Again, one that's got a lot of muscularity, but for me, she's the most skeletal. She's skeletally the gilt that I'd like to change the most. She just wants to hit the ground pretty hard there off of her back end. She certainly doesn't have enough set in the back in her blade to make her more comfortable. So we'll go ahead and give them a round of applause on a really, really nice set of spot gilts to go ahead and sort today.
Receiving first in a blue in our spot breeding gilts was Paige Fishburne. Receiving second in a blue was Cody Loganbill. Also receiving blues were Cole Flory and Tate and Anderson. Entering the ring now, we have our Yorkshire breeding gilts. Split 1 of crossbred breeding gilts. This is your first call to the holding area. We would like to thank the sponsor of our champion spot breeding gilt. Paige will receive a cash award sponsored by the Shane and Tracy Newell family.
Here in our single entry Yorkshire Breeding Guild class, certainly a gilt that could stand a good amount of competition. Like I say, one that from the profile sweeps back a nice rib cage. She's smooth line, she's got ribs, she's got body, she's got heaviness of structure. To make her, to get picky on her, I'd maybe want to set her back there in her blade, maybe a notch more flexible through her lower joints. Maybe square up just a nickel as she goes away from me. But again, aside from that, a gilt that, like I say, brings a lot of good to the table. We'll evaluate her relative to other breeds here in a bit. But let's go ahead and give her a round of applause on a really nice Yorkshire gilt to bring out for us to take a look at today.
Receiving first in our champion Yorkshire breeding gilt was Piper Flory. Piper will receive a cash award sponsored by Mark Brown Construction from Mark and Sherry Brown. In the ring next, we will have split 1 of our crossbred breeding gilts. We're looking for Emma Brown, Cammie Moore, Piper Flory, and Riley Coates. This is the first call for split 2 of our crossbred breeding gilts to the holding area.
Don't mind me and all my things. No, it's okay. Sorry. When we go into the market show, that's when I'll have you announce the cancellation of those 2 classes. Okay. And then, yeah.
an interesting class of crossbred breeding gilts to evaluate, and I'm going to go ahead and elect to use the young lady's belted gilt on the far left side of the ring for me to go ahead and lead off this particular drive. She's a very feminine, she's very correct, she's sound as she takes the ring. I like her frame size too. Frame is kind of a, we don't talk about it a ton in the show pig world anymore, but for me a breeding gilt, she's a breeding gilt to me that has future in terms of how being an appropriate size. With regard to her length of cannon. I maybe like to square her up just a bit at her knee to get pretty critical, but like I say, just a really complete, really well put together kind of a gilt to be standing to win this particular drive. Blue Bite gilt that goes ahead in a second. I'll be the first to admit she's the heavier structured gilt of the pair. She sweeps a big, bold rib cage, and I really love that look about her. But for me, she just is not quite as athletic in how she handles her hind leg. For me, I just like to make her a notch bigger in her kind, maybe give her a notch more cannon to give her a kind of that look that she's going to be an impressive animal as she gets to these heavier weights. But like I say, a really nice kind of gilt to be standing second. Young lady's gilt that's going to be third today. I do appreciate the extra scale that she has. She has a ton of power and product down her top and through her hip. Like I say, a lot of width there. But for me, I just like to make her a notch more comfortable as she takes the surface. She's just a bit more uncoordinated, a little harsher in her rear step. But again, a really nice gilt, especially standing still. Young lady's gilt that's going to round out the class has some depth of center. But for me is just a little bit too narrow and a little too narrow in her overall construct to command any higher in this particular lineup. But a really nice class to evaluate from top to bottom. Let's give that class a round of applause on a really nice job.
Receiving first in a blue in split 1 of our crossbred breeding gilt, Piper Flory. Receiving second in a blue was Cammie Moore. Also receiving blues were Riley Coates and Emma Brown. Entering the ring next, we have split 2 of our crossbred breeding gilts. We're looking for Avery Griffith, Britton Coates, Riley Coates, and Carter Watson.
And what? Was just those 4.
another interesting class of gilts to go ahead and evaluate. And for me, it's the narrow-belted gilt that's going to rise to the top of this class in terms of being a really correct, attractive kind of female that works a big top. She sweeps a big, bold rib cage, and she has a very elegant and feminine look as she takes the ring. Like I say, maybe just like to square her up just a nickel as she goes away from me, but that's a pretty harsh critique of just a very complete, very good kind of gilt to go ahead and lead off this particular drive. I think that it gets more interesting as you sort the trio. I think I'm going to go ahead and elect to use kind of this young man's spotted backed gilt to be second. One that I actually appreciate the extra heaviness of structure she brings to the table, but for me, she almost wants to throw herself just a little bit outside of herself as she goes away from me, hits the surface just a little bit hard, but again, that's to get pretty critical of a really nice gilt. Like I say, sweep her back a little bit softer there in her lower 1/3, maybe make her just a notch more comfortable. She hits the surface, she can drive really hard in this particular class. The young ladies spot back to gilt again, that's going to be third. I love the extra extension in the frame that she has. Just wants to get a little bit frailer there in her bonework, a little straighter through her lower joints, not quite as flexible and correct. Young man's gilt that's going to go ahead and round out the class. I like the angle to her hock pretty well, but that doesn't really translate to her hinging appropriately out of her hip, and she gets just kind of flat, harsh, and a bit more terminal in her overall look, and she's going to stand fourth for those reasons. But let's go ahead and give these exhibitors a round of applause on a really nice class of gilts. Like I say, very interesting and really nice gilt to go ahead and lead off that class.
In split 2 of our crossbred breeding gilts, receiving first in a blue is Avery Griffith. Receiving second in a blue is Britton Coates. Also receiving blues are Riley Coates and Carter Watson. We will now have the selection of our champion and reserve champion crossbred breeding gilts. From split 1, we're looking for Piper Flory, split 2, as well as Cammie Moore. In split 2, we're looking for Avery Griffith and Britton Coates. We would like to thank the sponsor of our crossbred breeding gilt class. The winner of Champion Crossbred will receive a cash award sponsored by Gunther and Mackenzie Wehrman.
Let's go ahead and give both of these crossbred gilts a round of applause on a pair of gilts that really kind of are the kind that I like in terms of being athletic, being attractive, like I say, being the kind of gilts that can work. When I'm judging a breeding gilt show, I'm not a big fan of just sizing them up, and I pick the gilts that I'd like to breed. And so with that said, your lightweight crossbred's going to be your champion. We'll go ahead and bring in the reserve and select your reserve from there. But a really nice gilt to go ahead and lead off this crossbred breeding gilt drive. Like for me, she secures it with just a degree of extra athleticism and just a really nice look.
Champion Crossbred Breeding Gilt goes to Piper Flory. Piper will receive a cash award sponsored by Gunther and Mackenzie Wehrman.
Our heavyweight crossbred will go ahead and be our reserve. Again, a gilt that just has a notch more scale to her. Just like I say, just like the broodiness and the design of this female. Take nothing away from the one that comes out from that other class. For me, she's just a little smaller in her kind. Just not quite as coordinated off that hind too. But again, a really nice set of gilts to evaluate today, and I appreciate these exhibitors bringing them out here today for us to take a look at.
Reserve champion crossbred breeding gilt goes to Avery Griffith. We will now have the selection of our grand champion and reserve grand champion breeding gilts. From our Duroc class, we're looking for Britton Coates and Kaylee Griffith. Spot, we're looking for Paige Fishburne and Cody Loganbill. York, we're looking for Piper Flory. Crossbred, Piper Flory and Avery Griffith. We would like to take a moment to thank the sponsor of our Grand Champion Breeding Gilt. The winner will receive a cash award as well as a trophy sponsored by David and Stephanie Norris in memory of William H. Norris. Our Reserve Grand Champion Breeding Gilt will receive a cash award sponsored by Griffin Wehrman.
I know what it means. Like yeah. That'll be all right. No, she's making fun of her chicken scratch. And I was like, what's a nice program? Wouldn't know. I have all the winners in this class. See, I taught her well. That's what it means. I have X's everywhere.
Let's go ahead and give all these breed champion gilts a round of applause out here in our champion breeding gilt drive. Like I say, it's been really fun to evaluate the classes that have come into the ring. And so as we're out here taking a look at these elite gilts here in the ring, like I say, some of the fundamentals that I keep coming back to, no matter what group of hogs I'm evaluating, is going to be the word skeleton. And if you get tired of hearing that today, I apologize. But that's what it really boils down to me when you're talking about making hogs right, and what separates a muscular hog from a great hog is really the way that they're put together. And for me, one of those gilts does that really well. To me, she has the best skeleton, and that's why she's going to be the one that I call the best gilt in the ring, and that's going to be your champion crossbred. Let's go ahead and give her a round of applause. We'll bring in our reserve and then go ahead and sort from there.
Grand Champion Breeding Gilt went to Piper Flory and her crossbred gilt. Piper will receive a cash award as well as a trophy sponsored by David and Stephanie Norris in memory of William H. Norris.
We bring the reserve crossbred in, and like I say, she certainly doesn't detract from the quality of the ring in terms of good, correct kind of gilts. But there's a breed gilt that hit me pretty hard when she came in earlier in the day, and that's going to be the young lady spot gilt. She's going to be reserve breeding gilt today.
Reserve Grand Champion Breeding Gilt went to Paige Fishburne. Paige will receive a cash award sponsored by Griffin Wehrman. That does conclude the breeding portion of our show. Just a reminder, the market portion of our show will begin with our feeder pig class. In that feeder class, we're looking for Piper Flory, Addison Welch, Robert Johnson, Brantley Fishburne, and Evelyn Johnson.
While we're waiting for them to get up, you're not writing that down. Sorry, I did a
We also have some additional changes to our show program. After the feeder pig class, the first two market classes, after the Yorkshire market hog class, the first two crossbred market hog classes are scratches. In our feeder pig class, we are looking for Piper Flory, Addison Welch, Robert Johnson, Brantley Fishburne, and Evelyn Johnson. This is the first call for our AOB market hogs. First call for AOB market hogs to the holding area.
Let's go ahead and give these exhibitors a round of applause on a really nice set of feeder pigs to go ahead and evaluate, especially here on this top end. For me, the young lady's Berkshire appearing gilt is going to go ahead and lead off the drive. Here's a hog that has a lot of heaviness of structure, really attractive design when you get on the side of it, more than enough product width and dimension as we study it from their back. A hog that reads with a lot of future here in this feeder pig class. To take nothing away from the really muscular spot appearing barrow across the ring, a hog that wants to kind of ride the fence, which unfortunately doesn't really help him show off himself. But here's a hog that has a lot of power and product as we study him down his top and through his hip. For me, he's just a little bit too frail in his overall body work. Maybe wants to kind of push the envelope in terms of being on the just on the outside of his corners on that hind two, but a really nice barrow to be standing second. From there, we have kind of a remaining trio of hogs that, like I say, just need more time on feed, or a little bit too narrow and frail in their overall bone work, and a little bit light muscled as well to drive any higher in this particular class. But let's give all these exhibitors a round of applause on a nice feeder pig class to evaluate.
In our feeder pig class, receiving first in a blue is Piper Flory. Receiving second in a blue is Brantley Fishburne. Receiving reds were Addison Welch, Robert Johnson, and Evelyn Johnson. Entering the ring next, we have our AOB Market Hogs. We're looking for Colby Lawhorn, Jaden Lister, and Jarrett Phillips. Berkshire Market Hogs, this is your first call.
Let's go ahead and give these exhibitors a round of applause in our AOB division. Certainly some differences to evaluate. The down-eared barrow on the corner of the ring is going to go ahead and lead off this particular drive. A hog who, like I say, works more than enough product down his top, through his hip. He has a correct skeletal base. He just looks like a good feeding, good kind of animal. Like I say, these landrace appearing hogs, like I say, sometimes can be a little bit frailer in his bone work, and that certainly may be an area that I'd change him. But that's a pretty nice hog right there to go ahead and lead off this class. From there, the white gilt is going to go ahead and be second. Certainly a hog that has like some look, some flexibility to her. Like I say, still kind of wants to pack her left hind just a little bit, but again, a pretty nice gilt to stand in second. Young man's extremely powerfully muscled, predominantly black hog that's going to round out the class. Like I say, it's too bad that she's packing the leg way that she is, but with the extra muscularity that she has and power, sometimes that can predispose them to those kind of injuries. And like I say, just wish she was a little bit more flexible to take the ring for us today. Let's go ahead and give those exhibitors a nice round of applause on their efforts, and we'll go on with the Berkshires here.
Receiving first in our AOB Market Hogs was Jaden Lister with a blue. Second was Colby Lawhorn with a blue. And receiving a blue is Jarrett Phillips. Next in the ring, we have our Berkshire Market Hogs. We're looking for Piper Flory, Carter Watson, Cooper Marsh, Cody Loganbill, Cody Newell, and Clayton Lang.
Okay, sorry. No Piper. Okay. What's our next class? I'm trying, but I don't have a book. Here. What's the next one?
Duroc Market Hogs. This is your first call to the holding area, Duroc Market Hogs.
Okay, this is our Berkshire. We don't have another market. Okay, you go grab one. Okay, she just did fourth, third. I just need to know second first. And I don't think it's like that. Okay, Cody is first. And then second for March, yes.
Very nice class of Berkshires to go ahead and evaluate today. And like I say, I think it gets close on the top two. The young man driving the hog to my left is going to go ahead and lead off this particular drive. A hog that I think has the most genuine width when we study him coming and going. He sweeps the biggest, squarest hip. And when you get on the side of this hog, he does have, I think, a notch more of attractiveness to him as we get that head and neck set on those nice profiles, and like I say, a really, really nice barrow. To take nothing away from that darker colored barrow, who, like I say, is the color that I really like to see on a Berkshire hog. I mean, he's just a real class act to take the ring here. But unfortunately, he just kind of runs up against some pretty stiff competition. He's not as genuinely wide in his construct as he goes away from me. He gets a little bit rougher in his top line, and if we could make him a little bit more correct instead of his hawk, that certainly would not hurt him at all. The young man who's going to stand third, here's a hog that has a tremendous amount of product down its top and through its hip. For me, we need to change him in his hind leg construct, but I really like the youthfulness of that barrow as we study him through his front 1/3. He's really fresh. The young man's hog that goes ahead and stands fourth, like I say, if we could freshen him up, this hog would drive quite a bit harder in this particular class. He just gets a bit wasty up through that front 1/3, a little bit plainer in his shape. And like I say, also wants to pack a hind leg with a little bit of swelling and a hawk as well, which certainly doesn't help him out any. But like I say, a hog that's maybe a little bit past his prime, but certainly a quality animal. Young man's hog that goes ahead and rounds out the class. Just one that I'd like to alter a little bit from a skeletal perspective, make a notch bolder in his overall body shape, but certainly a hog that has some product and certainly will go to the rail with a quality product. Let's go ahead and give those exhibitors a round of applause on a nice set of blue ribbon Berkshire hogs.
Receiving first in a blue in our Berkshire Market Hog class is Cody Loganbill. Receiving second in a blue was Cooper Marsh. Also receiving blues are Carter Watson, Cody Newell, and Clayton Lang. This will be class 2 of our Berkshire Market Hogs. We're looking for Jalen Murray and Emma Brown. This is the second call for Duroc Market Hogs to the holding area. Second call for Duroc Market Hogs to the holding area.
A pair of heavier weight Berkshire Bears to evaluate today. I'm going to go ahead and use the one further closer to the fence to go ahead and lead off this particular drive. A barrow that works a tremendous amount of product down his top and through his hip, and I'll be the first to say he's not structurally perfect, but he does get around the ring at a heavier weight with a ton of product, and that is not an easy thing to do. I like that has some extra degree of cleanliness up there through his front 1/3. He's more appropriate in terms of body condition for me. The young lady's barrow here in the center of the ring, to take nothing away from a hog that's going to go to the rail with a very, very nice carcass to evaluate. But those aesthetics that we're evaluating today, he's just a little bit wastier through his lower third. He gets uncoordinated and harsh off of his hind two, and he wants to complain about it as well, which I can appreciate. Let's go ahead and give those exhibitors a round of applause. We'll bring out our champion Berkshire Drive now.
In split 2, receiving first in a blue is Jalen Murray. Receiving second in a blue was Emma Brown. We'll now have the selection of our champion and reserve champion, Berkshire Market Hog. Returning to the ring, we'll have Cody Loganbill, Cooper Marsh, Jalen Murray, and Emma Brown.
Let's go ahead and give these Berkshire exhibitors a round of applause on a really, really nice set of Berkshires that we've evaluated here today. When they first came out in this first class, like I say, our class-winning barrow and actually both of the barrows in that class were extremely good. And like I say, we were kind of splitting hairs on that top pair of quality. And like I say, the lightweight Berkshire is going to be your champion, and we're going to follow him with the reserve from that particular class to be your reserve overall. Nice job, young lady, with your heavyweight Berkshire barrow to be out here as well. Quality projects all the way through.
Sorry, who was your champion? Cody? Okay.
Champion Berkshire Market Hog went to Cody Loganbill. Reserve champion Berkshire Market Hog went to Cooper Marsh. We would like to thank the sponsor of our Berkshire Market Hog champion. Cody will receive a cash award sponsored by Flory Swine Genetics, Mark and Jessica Flory. Entering the ring now, we have our Duroc Market Hogs. We're looking for Tough Neitzel, Dagan Willis, Carter Watson, Trenton Gilgis, and Jaden Lister. Spot Market Hogs, please come to the holding area. Spot Market Hogs, you should be making your way to the holding area.
Really nice class of Duroc market hogs to evaluate, and like I say, it's fun to look at really good ones. And I think that the barrow that leads off this particular drive is really good. A really open structured barrow that works a great top and hip. He does it in a skeletally correct, attractive package too. And like I say, he's a big boy out here as well, and that's not easy to do as they start to get to those heavier weights. To take nothing away from the young man's barrow that's going to go ahead and stand second, kind of this darker colored barrow. You want to talk about a hog that's just a good animal. He's put together right. He's really heavy structured. I really like the look from the side. He's just not quite as bold. He's just not quite as fresh. He's not quite as popped as the barrow that goes ahead and leads off the drive. But you want to talk about a hog that is just skeletally just right. He certainly is. Just wishes he had a few more extras to command just a little bit more today. To take nothing away from the young man's gilt that's going to go ahead and stand third. You want to talk about a hog that's bold. I mean, she's got a big top. She's got a big hip. Skeletally, this is one that starts to become a bit more problematic, but I like the cutability and power that she brings to the table. That's really nice about her from that perspective. Kind of the bigger outline gilt on the far side of the ring. I like the extra scale and growth that she has. For me, she's just a little bit too flat, a little bit too plain. She gets kind of stale in her overall look relative to those who precede her. From there, the young man's barrow. Like I say, another hog that's really built quite right. For me, if we could have just maybe even changed the way that this hog was fed, he could have pushed a lot harder. For me, he's just a little bit too wasty. I'd like to trim him up, but a hog that fundamentally is really quite nice. Kind of the big middled barrow that rounds out the class. Like I say, a nice kind of a hog but unfortunately, like I say, just doesn't really line up and isn't quite as show ready today in terms of his overall presentation. Let's go ahead and give these exhibitors a round of applause.
Receiving first in a blue in our Duroc Market Hogs was Lane Anderson. Receiving second in a blue was Carter Watson. Also receiving blues were Tuff Neitzel, Dagan Willis, and Jaden Lister. Receiving a red was Trenton Gilgis. In the ring next, we should have our Spot Market Hogs. We're looking for Cole Flory, Paige Fishburne, and Jaden Lister. Yorkshire Market Hogs, you should be making your way to the holding area. Again, Yorkshire Market Hogs, please be making your way to the holding area. We would like to thank the sponsor of our Duroc Market Hog class. Lane will receive a cash award sponsored by Hunsinger Farms, George and Carol Hunsinger. We would like to thank the sponsors as well for our Spot Market Hog class. The winner will receive a cash award sponsored by the Capel family, Jamie, Kelly, Tyler, and Tristan Capel.
An interesting trio of spots where there's a lot of give and take. And for me, I'll be the first to admit that my class winner is overconditioned for what I would consider to be ideal. But I think that he's genuinely the best animal as we break him down from a skeletal aspect, looked at underneath his skeleton and how wide he truly is and how he transmits that with in an appropriate sound package. Like I say, let's trim this hog up. And like I say, I think that he certainly becomes a bit more undeniable viable at that in time. But like I say, I think the bones of that one are right, and he's got more than enough product to go with it. I do appreciate the extra, the leanness and the freshness of the barrow that goes ahead and stands second. For me, he's just a little bit too narrow in his overall construct. Gets a bit lighter in his skeleton. But like I say, a very good kind of a hog. Kind of the lighter skinned hog here that rounds out the class. One that I just like to make taller there at the point of his shoulder, square him up as he goes away from me. But a hog that in terms of having some grow and having some product and some muscularity, certainly does have that. Just wishes that he was put together in a little bit more correct package to take advantage of that extra power. Let's go ahead and give those exhibitors a round of applause on a really nice set of barrows to evaluate there.
Receiving first, as well as our champion spot market hog, is Paige Fishburne. Receiving second, and our reserve champion spot market hog went to Cole Flory. Also receiving a blue was Jaden Lister. Entering the ring next, we have our Yorkshire market hogs. Just a reminder, the first two crossbred market hog program classes listed in the program will be scratches. Those exhibitors have been notified. In the ring, we should have Cole Flory, Piper Flory, Olivia Lawhorn, Shay Griffith, and Harrison Hefner. We need our first class of crossbred market hogs to the holding area. Our first class of crossbred market hogs to the holding area. In that first class of crossbred market hogs, we're looking for Harper Smart, Paige Fishburne, Shay Griffith, Harrison Hefner, Britton Coates, and Garrison Moore.
Another really nice class of Yorkshires to evaluate today, and it's unfortunate that the young man who leads off the drive had kind of wore out his hog and showmanship, but this is actually the most correct and most best put together hog in the class, and he's going to win it for that particular reason. He's got a tremendous amount of product down his top and through his hip. He's the he's the squarest in terms of his hind leg construct as he sets to the surface. Like I say, a really nice barrow to go ahead and lead off this particular drive. To take nothing away from the young lady's barrow that's going to go ahead and stand second, I do think he's maybe a notch more attractive through his front end than the barrow that leads off the drive, but for me, as he goes away from me, he's just not quite as square and undeniable in how he sets down off of those hind two. I just would like to make them just a notch more secure in that regard to push a little harder in this class. The young lady's barrow that's going to go ahead and be third, that's driving out here in the center of the ring, a hog that we have to appreciate in just terms of production fundamentals. It's a big old rib cage in that hog, and gut speed and grow, and this barrow certainly has. For me, I'd just like to make him just more correct in terms of his top line, pull him up at the base of his tail, smooth him up there, just give him a notch more show presence and a little bit trimmer body condition. I think he would drive a little harder in this class if we had those advantages to him. I really like the freshness of this smaller barrow. When he first came into the ring, I mean, here's a hog that's got a really fresh shape down his top and through his hip. Unfortunately for me, he's just a little bit jammed up through this front end. I want to square him up and how he sets down off of his hind too, but I really like the freshness of shape of that one. Young lady's barrow that rounds out the class, kind of a big outlined hog that has some growth and scale, and I like that. But just wanted to make him a notch bolder in his shape, make him just a notch more appropriate in terms of rib shape and body dimension to drive any higher in this particular class. But a really nice set from top to bottom. Let's give all of these blue ribbon hogs a round of applause.
Our champion Yorkshire Market Hog went to Harrison Hefner. Harrison will receive a cash award sponsored by Brian and Julie Flory. Reserve champion Yorkshire Market Hog went to Shay Griffith. Also receiving blues were Cole Flory, Piper Flory, and Olivia Lawhorn. Entering the ring now is our first class of crossbred market hogs. We're looking for Harper Smart, Paige Fishburne, Shay Griffith, Harrison Hefner, Britton Coates, and Garrison Moore. Class 2 of crossbred market hogs, please be making your way to the holding area. Class 2 of crossbred market hogs, please be making your way to the holding area.
Jet. Jet. You've got a few more coming, just so you know. Okay.
We're still missing Harrison Hefner for Class 1 of our crossbred market hogs.
We had some shuffles in our program, so folks are a little bit confused where they're supposed to be. Running a new program here. There he's coming. Grant's got him. He's coming. They're making their way. He was in the last class. I think they had to run back and grab different hogs. Yeah, he had to. Should be good.
a really nice class of market hogs to evaluate here today, and I'm going to go ahead and lead off the drive with the kind of this off-belted gilt to this young lady's. A gilt that takes the ring with a lot of comfort and ease. She's got a really nice, attractive look from the side, a big top, a big hip, and I think that she's probably one of the most skeletally correct ones in the ring as well. To take nothing away, this barrow hits you pretty hard. That's going to be standing here in second. But for me, he hasn't really been in the ring that long, and he's already kind of hitting the ground just a little bit harder and a little bit more awkward off of his hind two than I would consider to be ideal. But if you want to talk about one that just has to stand still, that barrow would win your class if that was what we were doing here today. Working down from there, the young man's black-headed hog that's going to go ahead and stand third. A hog that's just been out here driving. He's just so comfortable. I love that about this hog. He's got a nice shape to his top, good look from the side. Just want to open him up all the way through to make him just a notch more undeniable in this particular lineup. A young man's gilt that's going to go ahead and stand fourth. I like a lot of things about this hog. She's got a really nice shape down her top, really cool, elevated, elegant front 1/3. She just gets a bit more, she just has a little bit more extra reach to that hind leg, doesn't handle it with the degree of comfort and coordination that I'd like to see, and gets a little flatter and harsher in a rib shape and sorts down for that reason. The young lady's barrow that goes ahead and stands next, again, another one of these hogs that has a tremendous amount of product when you get down his top and through his hip. Again, another one that gets just maybe a little bit outside of himself and a bit uncoordinated to push any higher in this particular lineup. Following hogs that round out the class just a little bit too narrow and frail in their overall makeup, but like I say, have some scale and some growth to them, like I say, as they continue their project. Let's go ahead and give those exhibitors a round of applause on a really interesting class of crossbreds to go ahead and evaluate today.
In Class 1 of our crossbred market hogs, receiving first in a blue is Shay Griffith. Receiving second in a blue was Harrison Hefner. Also receiving blues were Britton Coates, Garrison Moore, and Paige Fishburne. Receiving a red is Harper Smart. We're now ready for Class 2 of our crossbred market hogs. We should have Ethan Smozzle, Dagan Willis, Cammie Moore, Britton Coates, Truth Pope, Jace Hout, and Paige Smozzle. Class 3 of our crossbred market hogs, you should be making your way to the holding area. Class 3 of crossbred market hogs, please be making your way to the holding area.
I'm right on yours. We're adding this. Sorry, I forgot to do that for you.
a really nice class of crossbred market barrows to evaluate, and for me, it's kind of this wider belted hog that just kind of stands out as the hog that's just really genuine in how he's put together and really correct in his makeup. He's not the heaviest muscled one in the ring. He's not the heaviest boned one in the ring, but he is the most comfortable in the ring. He's a wide skeleton hog that has a tremendous amount of product down his and through his hip, and to me, he represents the best kind. He's going to win the class. The young man's belted barrow that's a little bit roan-hided. To take nothing away from this hog, a hog that, like I say, you get on the side of it, he's a heavier structure, which he draws back really nice and pretty and level through that hip. He just isn't quite as fresh in his shape. I'd like to just make him just a notch bolder in his rib, a notch more crisp down his top and through his hip. We do that, he drives really, really hard in this particular class. The young lady's barrow that goes ahead and stands third, this hog has driven a lot today, and that's kind of a shame because, like I say, he's starting to labor and get pretty harsh off of that hind too. But you want to talk about an extremely impressive hog in terms of how he's been fed to have that kind of shape and that kind of dimension when you get in behind him. Just wish that he could handle the ring just a little bit longer today. Like I say, there's parts of that one that are the best in the class. The young man's blue butt gilt that goes ahead and stands next in our lineup, a hog that, like I say, represents a good kind. Just wish I could open her up all the way through to make her a notch more powerful in this particular lineup. Spotted barrow across the way. Like I say, I like his heaviness of structure. I like his big rib kind. A lot of product in that hog. For me, he's just too compact and jammed up all the way through. Just like to stretch that hog out a bit, clean him up to make him more competitive. Young man's extremely wide base, extremely heavy structured barrow that's going to stand sixth. Like I say, love the product too much. And then from there, we have the Berkshire that's going to round out the class. Again, a hog that has some flexibility and a little bit of practicality, but just too narrow-gauged and too light muscle to drive any higher in this particular lineup. A really nice class to sort from top to bottom. Like I say, sorting the genuine hogs up to the top in my mind.
In Class 2 of our crossbred market hogs, receiving first in a blue is Britton Coates. Receiving second in a blue is Jace Hout. Also receiving blues are Cammie Moore, Ethan Smozzle, Paige Smozzle, Dagan Willis, and Truth Pope. In the ring next, we should have Class 3 of our crossbred market hogs. We're looking for Riley Coates, Clayton Lang, Seth Smozzle, Shay Griffith, Austin Phillips, Tristan Capel, and Piper Flory. Class 4 of crossbred market hogs, you should be making your way to the holding area. Again, Class 4 of crossbred market hogs, please be making your way to the holding area.
Let's give these exhibitors a round of applause. Really, really interesting class of crossbreds to evaluate. And I think that the blue belted gilt on the far side of the ring wins the class and does so pretty handedly in terms of a hog that has a tremendous amount of product, a tremendous amount of look, and she's got a correct skeletal base to go with it, even though she's getting a little bit hot out here today. But like I say, a really nice gilt to go ahead and lead off the drive. From there, I think that the young lady's white belted barrow represents a good kind of hog as well. He's got some flexibility, he's got some leanness and his appropriate amount of cutability. He's not perfect in how he's put together off that back leg, but like I say, there's a hog that has a lot of good to him. The young man's hog, the blue bud barrow, that's going to go ahead and stand third. Here's a hog that can it gets a little bit more constricted the longer the drive wears on. He's just a little bit too short and jammed up, but a tremendous amount of width, a tremendous amount of product. Love the shape of that particular hog as we sort there. The young man's red gilt that goes and stands next, maybe a notch more practical in terms of its skeleton. For me, just like to see it just a notch bolder, a little bit more crisper shape, a bit fresher in the way that its rib is put together. The young lady's gilt that goes ahead and stands next. Like I say, we've got to appreciate the leanness that this gilt has. But for me, she's just too straight off of both ends of her skeleton. She gets a little bit harsher in how she's put together as well to be any higher in this particular lineup. A young man's blue butt that gets lower there in the class as well. A hog that just gets a bit wasty through his lower third, just is not quite as fresh and show ready today. But a nice class from top to bottom of blue ribbon hogs to go ahead and evaluate today.
In Class 3 of our crossbred market hogs, receiving first in a blue is Piper Flory. Receiving second in a blue is Riley Coates. Also receiving blues are Clayton Lang, Seth Smozzle, Shay Griffith, Austin Phillips, and Tristan Capel. We should have Class 4 of our crossbred market hogs in the holding area. Class 5 of crossbred market hogs, you should be making your way to the ring. In Class 4, we should have Truth Pope, Ethan Smozzle, Tate Anderson, Cody Loganbill, Cooper Marsh, and Riley Coates.
Let's go ahead and give these exhibitors a round of applause on a really interesting class of crossbred Barras to go ahead and evaluate. For me, the young man's blue butt Barra wins and does so pretty handedly. He's the most correct in terms of his skeletal makeup. He has the most, like I say, he just like I say, just a picture pretty kind of hog to get on the side of. Really tall-headed, plenty of shape and power and product to go with that extra look. The young man saw a black hog that's going to be second, a hog that is really, really powerful when you get on top of him. A ton of product all through this hog, and really he's pretty sound too, considering it. I just like to stretch him out through that front 1/3, maybe set him back in his spine just a little bit to kind of make him just a little bit more relaxed in terms of how he's put together and looks from the side. But a hog that has a tremendous amount of product and some flexibility to go along with it. The young lady's Barra that's going to go ahead and stand third, kind of packing one of those right hind legs, and that certainly doesn't help his look. But here's really just a practical kind of hog that I like the extra front end of this hog relative to the Barra that precedes him. But for me, just would like to just be just a notch more comfortable, but a good kind of a hog that, like I say, just kind of wants to pack that hind leg just a little bit frailer in its overall makeup relative to the Barra that precedes it. From there, we sort down to a Barra that young man is driving here in terms of being just a more practical kind of a hog. He gets he has some flexibility and some reach. I appreciate that about him. Just doesn't quite power up quite as much, and he's not quite as flexible on his hind too. From there, we have kind of a spot-backed Barra that gets a bit more problematic for me in terms of being a hog that has a tremendous amount of product, a tremendous amount of potential in this hog as he goes to the rail. But for me, we kind of cross the line into a little bit too much. I'd like to tone down his shape, bring him a little bit more inside of his skeleton to make him a more competitive barrow in this drive. Blue butt hog that comes out next, again, another really product-oriented hog that's going to hang a lot of muscle, but for me is just not correct enough in terms of how his hind leg is put together. Berkshire Barra that rounds out the class, one that we appreciate in terms of his practicality, just too narrow and too plain in his overall makeup to push any higher in this drive. Let's go ahead and give those exhibitors a round of applause on a really nice class of market hogs.
In Class 4 of our crossbred market hogs, receiving first in a blue is Cody Loganbill. Receiving second in a blue is Truth Pope. Also receiving blues are Ethan Smozzle, Tate Anderson, Cooper Marsh, and Riley Coates. Entering the ring next, we should have Class 5 of our crossbred market hogs. We're looking for Trenton Gilgis, Reed Moore, Lane Anderson, Kaylee Griffith, Jace Hout, and Elena Moore. Class 6 of crossbred market hogs, you should be making your way to the holding area. Again, Class 6 of crossbred market hogs, you should be making your way to the show ring.
This is a really, really interesting class of market hogs, and I think that when we get to this top trio, I think that it gets really, really tricky because there's some give and takes in terms of level of fit and level of readiness for the day, and also just basic skeletal quality and just real quality animals. The far narrow belted hog is going to lead this drive because I think that he is the best kind of hog that we have here in the ring. You want to talk about a hog that when you get on the side, he draws back dead level. He's super flexible. He's heavy structured. He has more than enough shape down his top and through his hip. Is he the freshest and boldest shaped hog in the class? Absolutely not. But this is an extremely genuine, extremely well-built animal, and he's going to win the class for that reason. From there, the young ladies barrow that's going to go ahead and stand second. If there's some ringside favorite, I wouldn't count to hold that against you, because that is a big top, big ribbed hog that has a ton of product that still gets around the ring really, really well. For me, he just gets a little bit frailer in his overall bone work. He's off in the angle of his hip. Well, and I really, when you study that hog coming at you, he's not as powerful and opened up through that chest as I'd like to see. But a hog that in terms of fit and presentation and feed, like that hog is at 12 o'clock. He's just going to be second today. From there, a blue bat kind of gilt that's going to be third. One that I think, in a breeding class is extremely, extremely useful. She's really correct. She's really square. Just kind of lacks a little bit of heaviness of structure, stoutness of feature relative to the barrows that she has to run up against today, but an extremely correct hog to be where she's at. The barrow that stands fourth today, another one that in terms of shape and presentation, unreal. Love the fit on this hog. To me, skeletally, not correct enough. Want to set him back in his blade, make him more flexible in how he handles those hind two. From there, we sort down to kind of the narrow-belted pig across the way that's been fighting a lot. He's got some shape, got some muscle. Like I say, a little difficult to evaluate there on the fence, but a good kind of a hog. And then kind of the big naveled hog that's going to round out the class. One that I just want to alter skeletally in terms of how he handles those hind two to make him more competitive. But a very interesting class with some give and takes and differences in terms of fit and presentation and freshness. Like I say, settle on the best skeleton one to win the class today.
In Class 5 of our crossbred market hogs, receiving first in a blue was Kaylee Griffith. Receiving second in a blue was Elena Moore. Also receiving blues were Reed Moore, Lane Anderson, and Jace Hout. Receiving a red was Trenton Gilgis. In the ring next, we're looking for Class 6 of our crossbred market hogs. We're looking for Kaylee Griffith, Austin Phillips, Tuff Neitzel, Britton Coates, Dalen Babbitt, and Lane Anderson. Class 7 of crossbred market hogs, please be making your way to the holding area.
Another really nice class of crossbreds to go ahead and evaluate today, and I think that the top pair of these hogs are both really, really nice. I like to go ahead and settle on this really attractive made barrow to go ahead and lead off this particular drive. One that just draws back super levelly, super sound. Like I say, maybe would like to give him just a notch more shape as we get right there through the base of his ham. Maybe even make him just a notch wider right as he hits the ground, just to make him perfect at his corners for me. But like I say, just a real show barrow, and like I say, the young man does a phenomenal job getting him out there and getting him shown. Young man's gilt here, they're going to go ahead and stand second. A tremendously powerful gilt that has the advantage in terms of muscularity when you get in behind her. She's not as comfortable at the surface. She's not as willing to motivate the ring. But again, another high quality gilt to be standing second. Blue butt gilt going to be third. Another hog that has a lot of product and muscularity. Maybe you would just want to make her maybe even tone down her shape just a little bit so she can be more in control of her hind leg as she takes the ring. But again, a hog that has a tremendous amount of product that we have to appreciate. Blue speckled barrow out here next. Again, another really productive type of a barrow, big rib cage, a lot of product potential. Just needs to be altered in the way he's constructed through those hind legs. Barrow that's going to round out the class. Again, an extremely wide-made, muscular hog that for me is just too much, and it causes him to kind of struggle as he's out here in the ring as a result of that. But let's go ahead and give those exhibitors a round of applause on a really nice class of barrows to evaluate today.
In Class 6 of our crossbred market hogs, receiving first in a blue is Britton Coates. Receiving second in a blue is Tough Neitzel. Also receiving blues were Austin Phillips, Kaylee Griffith, and receiving a red was Dalen Babbitt. Coming in the ring now, we have our final class of crossbred market hogs. We're looking for Jalen Murray, Tristan Capel, Jarrett Phillips, Cole Flory, Cody Loganbill, and Colby Lawhorn.
I'm okay, thank you though. I would love a red bead ring.
If you were first or second place in the previous crossbred market hog classes, please be making your way back up for the selection of Grand and Reserve crossbred market hog. Again, first and second place exhibitors in our crossbred market hog classes, please be making your way to the holding area.
another really nice class of crossbreds to evaluate today. And I think that there's some interesting pieces of our top trio that there's some parts that you like out of all of them. But for me, the one that puts together the most good is kind of this buzzsaw of a black-headed gilt. Takes the ring. She's really comfortable on both ends of her skeleton. She's really heavy structured. She's got a great big old top and big old hip and hind leg in her as well. To change her, I would like maybe just make her just a little bit more true in how she sets down off of her front two. We're getting really critical of a gilt that has a tremendous amount of good to her. Like I say, I think she leads off the class for me today pretty easily. From there, we have two really nice barrows in 2 and 3. Like I say, when this blue hog first hit the ring, I thought that we might be starting off with him until the black-headed gilt found her way in. But like I say, this is an extremely nice kind of hog to be standing second. I think he could actually push harder against that gilt if he was just a little bit bolder in his shape, especially as he gets through that lower third of his ham. He just doesn't quite have the same degree of power at the ground as he goes away from him, not quite as bold in his shape, but an extremely nice barrow to be standing second. To take nothing away from just an extremely practical, good kind of a barrow to stand third. Here's a hog that's flexible, he's sound, he's got the right kind of a skeleton. This is a good animal. Unfortunately, he just doesn't have those extras in terms of head and neck extensions. He gets a little bit wastier through that front 1/3 of him. But again, a really, really good kind of a hog. From there, the spotted barrow is going to stand next. A hog that's got some product and just needs to be stoutened up in his structure. The young man's belted gilt across the way, again, one that has some practicality, just a little bit too narrow, too flat. And the young man's lamed up white gilt that's going to round out the class, just needs to have a bit more correctness of her kind. But again, a really, really nice class to evaluate. Buzzsaw there on the top. Let's go ahead and give those exhibitors a round of applause, and all of our exhibitors today, because I think that's probably our last confirmation class.
Colby was red. Colby was last, right? Yeah. Colby was last. Right? Yes. Okay.
In Class 7 of our crossbred market hogs, receiving first in a blue is Cody Loganbill. Receiving second in a blue is Tristan Capel. Also receiving blues were Cole Flory, Jalen Murray, and Jarrett Phillips. Receiving a red was Colby Lawhorn. Coming back in the ring, we'll have the selection of our champion and reserve champion crossbred market hogs. From Class 1, we're looking for Shea Griffith and Harrison Hefner. From Class 2, we're looking for Britton Coates and Jace Hout. From Class 3, we're looking for Piper Flory and Riley Coates. From Class 4, we're looking for Cody Loganbill and Truth Pope. From Class 5, we're looking for Kaylee Griffith and Elena Moore. From Class 6, we're looking for Britton Coates and Tough Neitzel. From Class 7, we're looking for Cody Loganbill and Tristan Capel. We would like to take a moment to thank our sponsor for our Crossbred Market Hog Champion. The winner will receive a cash award sponsored by Douglas County Area Pork Producers.
Okay, I've got, do I have Shay? Yep. I have Britton? Yes. Piper? Yes. Cody? Yes. Kaylee? Yes.
Let's give our crossbred exhibitors a round of applause. These are a really, really nice set of crossbred hogs to evaluate today, and I've had a ton of fun sorting through these crossbred pigs. We'll go ahead and select your champion. We'll bring in the class reserve and move on from there. But there was one hog that came out in the day that hit me pretty hard, pretty early, and this blue butt barrow right here is going to be your champion crossbred. Congratulations.
Oh, rule follower over here. Okay, so Cody, champion.
Our champion crossbred market hog goes to Cody Loganbill. He will receive a cash award sponsored by the Douglas County Area Pork Producers. Reserve champion crossbred market hog went to Piper Flory. We will now have each of our breed champion and reserve champions return to the holding area and show ring the selection of overall grand champion and reserve grand champion market hog. From AOB, our champion is Jaden Lister, reserve champion Colby Lawhorn. For Berkshire, we had our champion of Cody Loganbill and reserve champion Cooper Marsh. For Duroc, our champion was Lane Anderson, reserve champion was Carter Watson. For Spot, our champion was Paige Fishburne and a reserve champion was Cole Flory. For York, our champion was Harrison Hefner and our reserve champion was Shay Griffith. And crossbred champion was Cody Loganbill, reserve champion was Piper Flory. While our market hogs are making their way back to the ring, we would like to thank our sponsors for Grand Champion and Reserve Grand Champion Market Hog. Our Champion Market Hog will receive a cash award and trophy sponsored by David and Stephanie Norris, as well as a belt buckle sponsored by More Land and Livestock LLC. Our Reserve Grand Champion Market Hog will receive a cash award sponsored by Gabriel Farms, Jim and Amy Gabriel, as well as a cash award sponsored by More Land and Livestock, the Dustin Moore family.
Well, thank you guys for having me here today to evaluate your livestock. It's been a lot of fun for me, and I really appreciate all of these young people's hard work and effort making the decisions to purchase these projects in a time of the year in our country where at that time we didn't know if we'd even be having livestock shows. And so the drive and dedication of every young person who's come into this ring to have something to take to a fair they didn't know was going to happen is pretty impressive to me. And so, like I say, if we could give all those exhibitors a round of applause for all of the hard work that they've done, the families behind them to support them this summer, I think that's pretty impressive. That said, the hogs here in the ring, to me, they just represent the kind of hogs that I like. I think that they're all practical. I think that they're the kind that work, you know, they can get out here in the ring. They can be comfortable. With that said, there's one that has some extras in terms of look and presentation and just skeletal eliteness. And I mean, he's not perfect. He kind of probably turns his front toes in just a little bit more than I would consider to be totally ideal. But this champion crossbred's a really nice hog, and he's going to be your champion today. Nice job, young man.
Grand Champion Market Hog went to Cody Loganville. Cody will receive a cash award and trophy sponsored by David and Stephanie Norris, as well as a cash award and belt buckle sponsored by Moorland and Livestock.
Well, a really, really nice hog to go ahead and start off the drive, but we bring in the reserve, and we certainly aren't hurting for quality at that point. At that point in time, like I say, I really like this reserve champion hog. Again, our crossbred drive, she's going to be your reserve champion today. Young man's Duroc Barrow will be our third overall. Let's go ahead and give these exhibitors a round of applause on a really, really nice set of hogs to evaluate. It's been a lot of fun for me to be here today.
Reserve Grand Champion Market Hog went to Piper Flory. Piper will receive a cash award sponsored by Gabriel Farms, Jim and Amy Gabriel, as well as a cash award sponsored by Moorland and Livestock. That does conclude our 2020 Douglas County Fair 4-H Swine Show. We would like to thank everyone for coming, as well as our judge for traveling. Just a quick reminder, if you did use a pen, please make sure to clean all of the shavings out of it so that our county workers can disinfect for the sheep show tomorrow. There are wheelbarrows located throughout the building, and the dumpster for shavings is on the west side of the pavilion.